And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
It's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking.
It's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. A comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it.
Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And I'm joined by my co-host, Lori Parker. How you doing, Lori?
Doing great, doing great. Happy Friday Eve.
Happy Friday Eve. Oh, my goodness. You wouldn't know it by the way she's looking calm right now, but Lori was a complete wreck just a few seconds ago. Her and a killer fly. I was trying to take her out. Looks like she prevailed, so congratulations, Lori. Glad that you're among the living.
I'm always going to prevail. I'm stubborn like that.
Yeah. Look, I will agree with that part. I will agree. But, you know, we'll save that for a little later, I'm sure. But without further ado, let's bring him up, ladies and gentlemen. He's the lady killer. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the one that keeps the show's ratings on track, make sure that our international presence is quite secure. The man needs no introduction, but I'll introduce him anyway as the one, the only, the franchise, Mr. Jermaine Parker. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, man?
And look at here. We have another legend. The man, the myth, the legend. The host of Elephant Exposed on YouTube. Check him out, Mr. TNTVS CJ Jones. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent, guys. How y'all doing, fam?
We good.
Good.
I know this is the anniversary month, so happy anniversary coming up.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yeah, she's official. She's a nutball. She decided to want to do this for 3 years, and I mean, I can't talk her out of it.
We could have told you that before 3 years. Yeah, sometimes people just made for each other. You know, you put two nutballs in a bag and just see what happens. So, you know.
You got that right. We call them M&Ms.
I ain't got to figure out which one is the yellow M&M. That is so
She's gonna get you for that.
I know she is. The yellow M&M wearing the little, as Tucker Carlson calls it, the sensible sneakers instead of the sexy boots. I don't know if y'all saw that mess where Tucker was almost like heartbroken because they decided to put the lady M&Ms in. One, they put her in sneakers, and the other one, they took her off the heels and made her into wedges. And he's like, all of a sudden, you're not going to even want to be able to drink a beer with them. And I'm like, bro, this is candy. I mean,
you know this is animation, right?
Like what you got going on in your house, bro? You heard about if an M&M looks sexy or not?
Oh my goodness!
I mean, that shit you say when you high, when you sitting there, like, hey, Jermaine.
Oh my gosh!
Who do you think fine of? Wilma Flintstone or Becky? You know, that's
right. That is a 420 situation right there.
Yeah,
that's good, man.
We all telling everybody that you're in love with some damn candy. You know, it's supposed to melt in your mouth, not in your hand.
Right?
Elastigirl from The Incredibles.
Oh, Elastigirl.
Bro, hey, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Big booty Judy. Oh,
yeah.
Lord. Yeah.
I think the first sexy one was always was it Jessica Rabbit?
Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah. Well, no. Because you had old girl from Cool World. Cool World. The blonde.
Who's in?
Yeah.
God, what was her name?
I don't know if that counts as.
Oh yeah, she was. Like, no, she was all the way there, and she actually had sex with. Maybe
I have to go binge watch.
Say what?
So maybe I need to go binge watch.
You so stupid. It's come on. Who was it? Brad Pitt. That's who it was.
Brad Pitt. Okay.
Yep.
I don't know if you talk
Basinger, Kim Basinger.
She was the voice of the animal.
Kim Basinger.
Yep. She was the character that was based. Yeah.
But her name was Hollywood.
Hollywood. Thank you, Miss TNTV. Yeah, she's on it.
Hey, Ray, does Chitara from Thundercats count?
Nah. Chitara was the spit.
From my childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
Lord,
I didn't know she was a cheater. I thought she was just cheeks.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said, I didn't know she was a cheater. I thought she was just cheeks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can tell there was some red beans and rice when they being ate when they wasn't fighting.
Bruh.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, to this day, I still go Thunder. Thundercats.
Oh.
But what sword are you using this time? Or you just like
The one that grabs you sight beyond sight.
there you go. There you go. The one makes.
But you know what? Hold on. Think about it. Hold on, because see now y'all got me thinking. So G.I. Joe, Scarlet.
Yeah, Scarlet, and Lady J.
Scarlet, yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Scarlet could get it. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. And then you had was it DC Comic or Marvel? Black Widow.
Oh, that's the Marvel.
Marvel.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Or don't act like you ain't never watched no cartoons and go, he kind of fine.
all that He-Man. All that He-Man.
When you were sitting in front of the TV on a Saturday morning in your drawers with a bowl of cereal, you sat there and said, not bad.
Sure. Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
No, but you ain't gonna tell us which one it is, huh?
I'm trying to remember.
Well, it didn't mean that much to you because we talking about stuff we ain't seen in 30 years.
Yeah, I know that's right.
And we still kind of like, whoa.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Thank you everybody for tuning in as we go down memory lane of perversion. The gang is all here for another week of conversation, and I promise it can only go up from this. We are streaming live. You don't think so? Oh, well, I will prove you wrong. It will definitely go up. I ain't say it won't go back down, but it will go up. There will be a crescendo to this, but I'm not saying that we will not return back to the valley in the mud.
Yeah.
We have the franchise after all, and it's something and somebody is going to be racist. We can basically guarantee that. It's probably true. It's not a stretch. It's not a stretch for him to say that.
Not in this day and time. Not in this day and age.
So anyway, and just one quick note. For whatever reason, we are experiencing some very choppy internet over here. Okay. Yeah, so you may see a little bit of a delay and some freezing and stuff like that. I wish I could do something about it, but man, there's something going on with Spectrum, and I'll reach out to them tomorrow and try to figure out what's going on with the internet. But if you do see some blackouts and stuff like that, don't feel like the government is trying to take out the franchise. It is actually Spectrum, and we will figure that. We'll get to the bottom of this. But anyway, we are streaming live, and CJ, I know you weren't here last week, but we are actually streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, which you already know. So if you are a YouTube subscriber, please go over to Empower TV Network, like, share, click that little bell. It'll let you know anytime that we go live or add new content. But also, in addition to those three, we are actually streaming live on Roku as well as Amazon Fire TV.
Nice.
So we are kind of like LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Not one, not two, not three. But we got 5 platforms all broadcast.
Oh, that's right. All right. Awesome.
Yeah. So more opportunities for people to be able to see the show in real time. Even though the show wasn't live before on Roku and LinkedIn, it was always made available on demand the very next day, which it will continue to be. Also, as of yesterday, we just started back on our 26-week journey to the Super Bowl in the form of head-to-head sports with myself and my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove, where we broke down the AFC East and the NFC East. So we did go over CJ's Cowboys, our Carolina Panthers. We didn't go over our Panthers, but we did go over CJ's Cowboys as far as the NFC East goes and their upward battle that they're going to have this season with the Philadelphia Eagles. Lori, unfortunately, your New York Giants not slated to do much as we have them penciled in as either 3 or 4, depending on what the Commanders end up doing this particular season.
Are you going to be talking about the Jets next week, or is that in?
We just did the Jets yesterday.
Oh, you did. And,
Yeah, they're
and
part of.
where are the
I know
Jets?
you don't know all the divisions, but they're part of the AFC East with Buffalo, Miami, and New England.
Mm.
But I actually did predict. Me and Rand only had that one discrepancy because I believe Buffalo's window has officially closed. I'm giving it to the Jets this year. Actually, to
What?
And Buffalo is going to have to fight it out with Miami, depending on how Tua does with Jalen Waddle. And And you got to think about it this way: Buffalo has no running game. They have Damian Harris and Latavius old-ass Murray. And the Jets just signed Dalvin Cook in addition to running back that they already have. Aaron Rodgers has the better receiving core, even though Randall Cobb is 87 years old.
That's right. He did go to the Jets, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so
they might have a chance.
I actually like the running backs that Miami has. Raheem Mostert and some of those guys down there over what Buffalo has. So, and if Buffalo is dependent on Josh Allen to continue to become the white version of Cam Newton, that is not going to bode well for them. He cannot continue to keep running the ball and taking those hits because a quarterback's best ability is their availability. And if he ain't available, ask the Cowboys what happened when Dak went out. Even though Cooper Rush did an admirable job,
it'll catch up to you, baby. It'll catch up. Listen, I'll be the first one to tell you to. I'll be the first one to admit it and say
Joe Burrow
it will catch up to you.
You thought Joe Burrow did what?
I thought Joe Burrow was the white version of Cam.
No, because he don't run like Cam and run towards defenders and lay licks on them and make them make business decisions. I want to really tackle this 6'6", 300-pound.
I was like
Swag, yeah. Swag, he looked like he actually reminds me more of Joe from the Jets. Joe Namath. Yeah, right. Like almost like a damn pimp out there.
I am not versed when it comes to the Jets, but when you brought when you reminded me, that's where Aaron Rodgers went. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to change up the game a lot.
As long
as I am not looking forward to, because if our first game was any indicator, because I only saw the score, I was on vacation, so when I saw the score, okay. First of all, we're talking about Jaguars. Yes, preseason, but you try to look for little, precursors, in the game, like, try to, see, is there any hope this year? And you are dead on. Honestly, I say if we don't dig in within our first 5 games, the Eagles going to make another run like how they did this time.
Well, I got the Eagles winning the division, but I got the Cowboys coming out of the NFC East as a wild card. And honestly, the only reason they're going to come out of the NFC as a wild card is because the NFC is weak as hell. This is a year where you may even see the NFC North shake up because Aaron Rodgers isn't in Green Bay anymore, so he can't look over to the Bears and say, "I own you. I always have," as he said to them notoriously during a football game. Lori, he told them he owned them, and he always has. But the fact of the matter is, it was absolutely true. The Bears may take another step forward. I don't see them winning the North. I actually see the Detroit Lions taking over that. They will be fighting with the Minnesota Vikings for that, but it's definitely the North is probably one of those conferences that may get two in, but you only have three wild card spots, and I only see. And then you got to remember the NFC West has San Francisco and Seattle in the same conference,
Yeah,
and that's going to be a
probably
fight.
gonna
And
be
I
good.
think both of them have a chance of getting in. So you're already talking about uh, San Francisco or Seattle get in, and then if Dallas gets in, and then if Minnesota or Detroit is one of the wild cards, it's all three wild cards, and we're not even talking about the NFC South, which we shouldn't, because pretty much whoever wins the division is probably going to be the only team representing the NFC South.
Right.
And I actually believe it's the Carolina Panthers. Not evidenced by the fact that they got drugged in preseason this past week by the Jets 27-0.
I thought you were gonna say Falcons.
But almost by default, I don't think the Falcons are ready yet. Tampa is going to rely on either Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. Neither one seems like it would put any fear in the hearts of anybody. And New Orleans is kind of going to be a mystery because we don't know what Derek Carr is going to be able to do with that team. So do the Panthers have a chance? Yes, but it's kind of more or less by default, not because there's some booming team that I see if they make the playoffs making a deep run. It's a one and done home game to me. But could they get to the playoffs? I would basically say it's theirs to lose at this point. They would have to work for it, but it would be theirs to lose between them and New Orleans. I'm not 100% putting New Orleans in the rearview mirror. I'm just giving the edge to the Panthers because of the excitement with Bryce Young, which I'm still a little hesitant about a short quarterback. He did take a lot of hits from the Jets. He did get back up, thank God, but you don't want him to take too many because it's like Kyler Murray out there, taking hits and stuff. So I think he's more decisive with the ball and stuff like that than Kyler. So I'm not comparing him straight to Kyler as far as his accuracy, just more his size. Yeah, absolutely. So that was Lori. That was just my few minutes on NFL football. I know you look so engaged, and you definitely want me to get off of football. But as I always tell some of my female listeners, and because of the franchise, we have a plethora of that. If you want to be able to impress your man and sit down next to him on Sundays, watch Head to Head on Wednesdays, and there may be a lot of things that you can pick up that when you start sitting there saying to him, "Oh, they in the cover too, aren't they? Oh, they run a 21 package." He might look at you and be like, "How you know that?" And like I said today, you don't have to give Brian and Rand credit. What you can say is, "Baby, I always see you yelling at the TV about stuff like that. I just been listening." And he'd be like, my baby be listening to me, playing in his head like y'all always do anyway. So this is just another way for y'all to get to us. Fellas, I'm sorry I dropped that piece of advice for the ladies, but it's all about the clicks and the views. Yeah, I sold us out.
No more than Steve Harvey, bro. Go ahead.
Wow. That's funny. But anywho's, a lot of things going on this week. I know I had teased it last week, and I know CJ, we had I don't know if we had said something about it, or maybe it was Jermaine. I have been reading over this story about the two black guys that were in Minnesota traveling to Fargo, North Dakota, that were asked by the bus driver to move to the back of the bus. And when I first read the story, I was like, 2023?
Yeah.
So Minnesota natives, Jarvis Greenhill and Xavier Davis, were Minnesota natives were traveling to downtown Fargo, North Dakota, on Jefferson line on the Jefferson line bus, and were asked by the bus driver before he moves, they need to move to the back.
Right.
And they were the only people on the bus.
Yeah. The only reason why I'm familiar with that story is because my reaction was like yours. And that was one of the ones that I was going to consider covering on my show. But during that time, like I said, I was trying to woo-saw from everything. So, but yeah, I am
You gotta
familiar
unplug.
with it. Huh? You
You
got
you gotta unplug sometimes.
Oh yeah, I do, man. Because when you do, shows like mine, Elephant Exposed, you constantly looking at injustices, racisms, different things like that. Sometimes you just gotta blow that. Can I cuss? You just gotta blow
Yeah.
that shit out, bro. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta blow it out. So, but yeah, I am unfortunately aware of this guy thinking that he's living in the original Jim Crow era, and honestly, the way that the initial guy was acting, it kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call him Mr. Compliance. Well, let's just come on back. We don't want no trouble, da da da. And all I can hear in my head was, "Yes, a massa. Yes, a massa. Anything you want to do, a massa." And that's how I felt.
Yeah, he was, and I feel you because part of me heard that, part of me heard, hey, let me de-escalate this because he already threatening to call the police, and when they get here, one of us is gonna end up in a body bag, if not both of us.
I get that,
and that's sad because he was almost willing to say, you know what, let's complain about it later. Plus, I kept hearing him really intimate the fact that them going back and forth was making him late. He was more worried about him being late because I heard him keep bringing that up. The only reason
I do remember him saying
that the video is very, very low, and I would still have to tell you what they said. You'd have to really, really listen hard to hear it.
Yeah,
I
you do.
He playing it, but it was poor quality because it was coming off of a phone and the bus was running and he was quite a distance away from the bus driver and the guy that were kind of arguing back and forth. And he's like, I ain't done nothing to you. I just asked you a simple question and you give me all of this. And he's threatening to call the police. And at first he's, what black people normally do when you say, I'm gonna call the police. Call the police. I don't care.
Call the police, yeah.
So he did come up with that first and then they kind of backed down, Jermaine, and then ended up complying. And then the complaint was made. To my knowledge, the bus driver was fired for this. I'm sorry. That's a different incident. The bus driver has not been fired yet, but they're supposed to be doing some kind of investigation.
Yeah, it's always an investigation.
Because what they tried to say first, CJ, is that, well, that does seem kind of weird, but some of our policies do make it where we ask folks to start filling up from the back. So as we pick up more and more people, that there's more room up front.
I knew somebody was going to say that.
They brought that up.
That's the red herring under it.
It is.
And this is what I have to
early. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the red herring. Oh, it wasn't because of color. It's because we changed up our policies. We just want to fill up from the back. We're not trying. We didn't mean no harm. Da 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 da. You know exactly what it's the same thing that these Trumpites are doing and stuff like right now. Like I'm tired of being tired.
The thing is when you know that there is a history of something, even if that's your policy, you probably want to think twice about that, knowing that there has been some issues in the past with asking a certain class of folks to go directly to the back of an empty bus to accommodate some of your other travelers who more than likely will not be black.
Exactly. So you know what? See, so I'm thinking, okay, let's just say I try to put myself in certain people's positions. So let's just say I'm the driver of the bus, and I know that there's not good history between black and whites and on the bus. So the first thing that I would want to do is that I would start making public announcements or start reading off policy rather than trying to make it seem like it's personal. Because
it should also be posted though.
Exactly.
So, and
you would have stuff like that posted up. So listen, hey, it's not me. You know, in other words, you should have done it just like how they did it in just like how my uncle did it down in Alabama. Look, I'm just doing my job. Okay. You was called over the PA system. We was looking for you. Now I let your boat go. That ain't my fault. That ferry is still coming in, regardless of how privileged you think you are.
I think Jermaine will recommend from now on people carry folding chairs onto buses.
Oh yes, sir. Bro, I went mean crazy.
We had a whole show about that.
I say, hold on. I can say, evidently you ain't been to my Facebook page because we went mean crazy.
Oh no. Y'all, how many memes did I put on this show last week?
A lot.
I mean, it turned into a 21 Savage J. Cole song. How many?
My God.
How many memes you got? A lot.
A lot. I love it. Oh boy, that's my favorite one right there. Open that one. Oh yeah, Mr. Crocs.
I didn't have the one with MLK holding the chair. That was hilarious.
The inventor of the that was one of my favorites too.
I didn't have the one with the chair with the do-rag or the actual interview where they asked them what was happening. Yeah,
oh God, man. I got a couple of yours. I do have a couple of yours, but I have some really. And then I made up one. I call it the call and response.
Yeah. We also had to lift every chair and swing. And when I shared that story with Lori, and we started seeing Black America's response to this event, we were over here rolling and dying laughing. I thought she was gonna pass out when she was laughing.
Man, I was hot for all about 2 minutes. And then after that, I was like, thank God. Finally, the proper response. That was the proper response. Yeah. I sat my children down in the living room. I was like, listen, I know y'all don't understand what's going on right now, but y'all are living history right now. Take a look. Click, hit play. My kids was cracking up. It's like, that's for real. I say, yeah, baby. That's all that's real. That will go down in Black history. That will go down in Black history.
August the 4th is my birthday, and then August 5th, Montgomery Tea Party.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Jermaine.
I was going to say, I'm actually glad you bring that up in response to the earlier thing about the two guys in the bus.
Okay.
When you look at situations, I don't know how to phrase this. There are a lot of Black people who make a lot of statements that just aren't true. Like a lot of Black people say, if I was back during the day of slavery, they wouldn't have made me do nothing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna whip your ass. And so, kind of like the difference between Montgomery, what's happened on that bus is that there was no call to action. There was nobody to call. And so a lot of times what we have to do is we have to prioritize our safety over our principle. And I think, when, hey, look, it's just a seat. Let's just get where I'm going. We can fight about this another day, is my brother points out, because now historically when the police show up, we show up dead. And so it doesn't have to be, you think to yourself, like say, call the police. No, not no more. Don't call the police. Because I don't know who's going to show up.
Exactly.
Right. I would say that there's a large portion of our police officers, our LEOs, who do a great job of de-escalating stuff all the time, and they really do serve and protect the communities that they are assigned to. But unfortunately, there's some that don't. And so in that situation, is it something worth arguing about? I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of hot-headed too. Maybe I'll argue about it too a little bit. At the end of the day, I think that I would agree with, hey, we'll just handle this another way. But the surprise and shock, I'm not shocked. by that somebody would say something like that. I mean, because quite honestly, we're only now in this era seeing things that we know are going on because of cell phones and cameras and availability of to upload stuff and stuff going viral and getting more eyes on this stuff. Black people have long said that there were law enforcement officers who were not upstanding, who would do things like take them for a long ride before they took them to the police station. We in the community have known for a long time the things that go on, the things that have been said to us at restaurants, parks, other public places and stuff that are now just being captured on camera for people to go ooh and ah, like I can't believe somebody would say that. And it's like, oh really? I don't know why you can't. I think I mean brought up last week. You know, there's a lot of white people who are really, really shocked by this stuff, yet they have members of their family or close circle who say these things all the time. And I'm like, I don't know why you're shocked. You know somebody who speaks like this. I don't believe your whole family doesn't, you know, there's no part of my family, not the southern part, not the part, because they do. And so in that instance and stuff, again, it's not Montgomery. There's no bat signal to call on reinforcements and stuff. And huh?
I said nobody threw a hat up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, when nobody gonna come? I mean, you can throw a hat up in the air. In Baltimore, Batman don't live there. So you know, it's if you gonna do it, be mindful where you're gonna do it at. But this didn't. I don't think it rose to the level of physical violence, right?
Right.
And I will tell you, if you want to open carry a chair, that's on you. I suggest pepper spray or taser.
Yes, sir. All day, every day.
Definitely. I saw so many people showing some rusty old church ass chairs from their garage when they I'm just going, you know what? Y'all need to at least upgrade to the PVC chairs, man. Don't nobody want to sit in them old rusty chairs.
I mean, now, don't get twisted. I still got my chair on me, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I know you do.
I'm just saying.
He brought it on camera last week. He brought his phone on camera with him.
Well, hold on. I'll be right back. I'm gonna ask my fellow panelists here what y'all think about my chair. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Oh my god. Okay, all right. That's funny.
Yeah, but like I said, it's just it's unfortunate. It's not surprising,
right?
At all.
No, it's not. It's crazy,
especially that distance.
All right, we got a green screen. Okay, I can see it. Yep.
I don't know. That's about as close as I can get to a folding chair, but it got some weight to it, my brother.
Yeah, well, I mean, make sure you watch the videos on how to swing because I don't want you to throw any ball sockets out of your shoulder or anything.
Right, so, you got to have some upper body strength, and
not only that, but it's a lot of it is more technique than strength. So make sure the technique is right so that your throwing motion. I don't want you having to have Tommy John surgery like a baseball pitcher or something. So.
Yes, sir.
So we brought that up. And also, I don't know if y'all had saw this too, but the Supreme Court basically shot down affirmative action because apparently they basically came to the summation that race in America is not an issue anymore.
Okay.
Well, that's easy, right? Because if it's not an issue, then you don't have to do anything about it. And again, the same people say, well, Obama was president, and that seems to be the answer for racism in America. Was how could we possibly be racist when we allowed a black man who we firmly fought against and then talked shit about for 8 years, and had all kind of demeaning stuff to say about him and racist stuff to say, but racism's over because he was there, not because of the actions that we carry out every day.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure, I agree with him. Why not?
Or it's either that or it's always like this battle that I saw on one of the View shows where I forgot the name of the coconut senator. But one of the panelists was saying even then, that's the exception versus the rule. You know,
Right.
you
Well,
want
I mean,
you wanting to hide
but that's
behind,
the thing
huh?
no, I was going to say, but yeah, that's the same thing that Tim Scott does a lot of times. It says, well, racism can't exist anymore because look at my story.
Right,
I
exactly.
was able
So,
to come to a high
so
position of a senator out of the state of South Carolina. So how can racism exist when you look at my story?
yeah.
And when he came up with View, Sonny Hostin and Whoopi kept pushing back on him and saying, but that's more the exception. And he was just like, well, I don't subscribe to that. I'm like, well, you know, you wouldn't because you're in that position. But for every Tim Scott, there's about 50 other ones that aren't.
Exactly.
And he just would not concede that just because you've reached a certain position doesn't mean that certain things and barriers do this.
But see, his reality check hit him whenever he started looking at his approval ratings, and then even within his own camp, they started to let him know, hey, exception, you're not an exception, you know. So I don't know if he still feels as strongly as he did when he went on the View that day. He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
He does.
He's double down, triple down.
Yeah, absolutely. And rightly so, actually, because we're all influenced by our own personal experiences and stuff. It's hard to believe stuff that you like. Do you believe in Bigfoot? There are people out there who think they saw Bigfoot and they firmly believe in it. And you go, I've never seen Bigfoot, therefore I don't believe in it. And so it's one of those kind of things where perception is reality. And so in Tim Scott's case, the thing that about racism that doesn't really jive with that is that even though you've never personally experienced it, there's so many, again, if you're talking about in the 80s and Tim Scott's like, well, I never saw anything and therefore I never saw any stories about it. Sure, but today for the coverage and all the incidents, whether it be down in Montgomery or we're talking about these guys on the bus, or we're talking about guys hanging out at Starbucks or whatever, so many instances of racist behavior. How do you ignore that? That's why it makes his stance so ingenuine, because he sits there and talks about it, and from a personal and I believe Tim Scott when he says I've never had that happen to me.
I believe your personal story. Okay, fine. That's just like who was it? Was it Lil Wayne that said something similar to that? Okay, those are personal stories. I don't know your life. But it is really ignorant. It's beyond ignorant for you to sit up there and make a general broad statement like that when you have a plethora of other people's experiences, real life experiences. Matter of fact, it's just as you was talking about, Jermaine, people are literally, I mean, you can throw a rock now, so to speak, a proverbial rock in social media and hit anything that is racist based. And they're not even hiding it. I mean, look at this fool that just got arrested. The white woman, I think her name is Shree or something like that. That threatened the judge in the Congresswoman. She's even in her statement, Jermaine, she said, "Now I'm not saying that I would go to where she is, but if she happened to come down here, then we'll have a different story." They are not even trying to hide it.
I think you actually bring up a good point. That's not racist. That is, if you come in my area and I don't like you, I'm going to do something to you. And a lot of things that like Tim Scott and Candace Owens and the Hodge twins and whatever Uncle Tom's out there peddling that stuff, one of the things that they will say is that it is not racism. It is people who disagree with you politically. They agree with your social or your liberal ideas and stuff. They agree on principle with you, but it's not based on the color of your skin. Now, we all know that alcohol will allow you to say the N-word. It happens to the best people, evidently, all the time. Yeah. They get a little drunk, and alcohol will let you say the N-word. And you're not racist.
If they never had drank anything, it never would have came out.
Never would have came out, stuff. Never would have came out. the same thing with a lot of these things, a lot of these position stuff. Where and I think that's the difference between having the personal experience yourself and then looking through the lens of somebody else, where you can explain it away. It's it's like your kids when they say there's something under the bed. I know from my experience there's nothing under the bed, but you hear the creeping and the bumping and stuff, and you come to your own conclusions and stuff. And that's how some white people feel about racism. That you hear the creaking and the bumping and stuff, but there is no ghost. You know, and you're trying to bring up this ghost, and you're trying to blame everything on this ghost that I can't see, you can't touch, because that's racism, right? I don't see it, I can't touch it, I can't feel it. It's more of a principle thing for some people, except for the people who've actually experienced. You know that you can see it every time it happens to you. You can touch it because it usually has a physical or mostly financial effect on your life. It is tangible for people who it affects and stuff, but it's like a ghost. It's intangible. It's an unseen thing, and you're just calling. And that's how they view racism. It's like a boogeyman for everything. You call boogeyman for everything
until the trap that they have set for people like us, the black, the brown, the disenfranchised, until it happens in reverse. Then you start to try to do that whole reverse racism thing. Now racism exists.
Or not so much racism, but this is what you'll hear. You won't hear racism. This is what you'll hear. There's a two-tier justice system.
Oh, yeah.
Is a two-tier. You're right. It is a two-tier justice system. Trust me. We've known that for a long time, but the way that when a lot of other folks say it's a two-tier justice system, what they mean is that the police state was only created for certain kinds of people.
Right.
And when that police state operates the way that we think it's supposed to, we back the blue. The police are great. If only you would comply, yada, 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 yada. When it's a two-tier justice system to them, what that means is, wait a minute, you're trying to hold us accountable, and that wasn't built for us. It was built for them. And now that it's two-tiered because it's working outside of the framework that they think it's supposed to.
Yeah, and again, I argue that their approach on that is that when they say them, they don't mean black people. It encompasses black people. What they mean is it's for criminals. Now,
Right.
I know for us, we go, well, Jermaine, you just said black people, and I want you to stop correlating that too. But yes, I know what they mean, but that's not what they mean. They mean justice should be served. You know, the whole thing was like, I'll just bring Trump and all the indictments and stuff. The whole thing with that is that they believe him to be innocent and that he's being prosecuted as a political. That's why they want to call it banana republic and stuff. Where we're going to put our political opponents in jails and stuff like that. They don't think he's a criminal. Again, a lot of this is semantics. A lot of this is perception. But that's actually kind of life. What do you view these things at, and from what angle do you see these things? It's like a rainbow. If you kind of, or a prism, if you tilt a prism, you can get a solid.
Just a little.
So it's the same light that goes through the crystal, but it produces different things.
Depending on the way you're looking at it.
Depending on you're looking at it and stuff. And so a lot of people,
I used to get, and speaking off of what you're saying, Jermaine, I used to get so upset. And I mean, like to the point to where I would like shaking with it, like why these people don't see what is so obvious in their face, and you all on it today. It's all about perception. It's about what you are allowing, like how much of that light you are allowing into that prism, and the angle. Are you willing to turn it? Are you willing to switch it and see other angles, or you just like just this one position that you just so anchored into, you don't want to adjust it. You don't want to see a different kind of way of looking at something. So, I mean, I kind of hate going back to using this phrase, like it is what it is, but some people just refuse to move out of their comfort zone because that's just what it is. They don't want to be convicted. They don't want to have to feel bad for, whatever reasons or
Well,
whatnot.
I would argue like this, CJ. Do you believe the Earth is flat?
I know it's not flat.
Well,
But
why don't you want to have a debate about it? You just, I mean, that was kind of.
I do hear, I understand that people had different points of views and stuff until
Yeah,
actual
we got different points of
technology and
view.
research
Why
began.
can't we agree that I might be right too, and the Earth is flat? The
You know
reason
what?
is
You and Kyrie
because-
Irving. You and Kyrie
yeah,
Irving.
well, the reason that we can't, so when you talk about these staunch views and stuff, is because when somebody knows something in their heart is true, we don't want to argue about it. And so, just like the Earth is round, and I know the Earth is round too, I'm not going to argue with somebody who wants to talk about the Earth is flat. Why is this the only flat planet in the solar system of round planets? That don't make no sense. Why would this be different? And so the thing that we talked about last week when we talked about DeSantis and laws and stuff is that there's indoctrination through education. So a lot of things that we talk about, why do people not see it this way, is because they've been raised and taught not to see it that way.
Yeah.
And so if it comes from your parents, if it comes from your institutions, if it comes from your media, if it comes from your religion, and they're all saying the same thing, why would I debate that thing with you? If everybody's told me for years, and so a lot of times now, so I'm the guy always on the show, right, talking about, hey, this links to racism and stuff like that. What I'm also saying is that we're not the only people who have been lied to.
No. Oh yeah,
because
no.
I want you to understand that I believe in my heart that the average American is a good person and wants their neighbors and family and community to do well.
I would
I
say
believe they've been sold on some principles and some things through their education, through indoctrination through education, that leads them to believe certain stereotypes more than others. That leads them to feel endangered when they're around certain groups of people and stuff. That lets them believe what the principles and the morals and the work ethic of certain individuals and ethnic groups are, because they've been taught that stuff, and so they're not willing to debate you about it because, again, my family told me it was right. My schools told me it right. The history books that I read told me it was right. The films and entertainment that I say was right. Why would I argue about this round planet in your square world? So I know a lot of people sometimes think that maybe because of all the things that I talk about and stuff, like I hate white people and I don't like the police and I hate the government and stuff like that. Nothing further from the truth. Actually, I just believe in accountability and I believe in telling it the way that it has not been told historically.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I will say this, Jermaine. A lot of things out there are about points of view. And people go to certain extremes about things. I think it's not a point of being me not agreeing with your point of view. It's about how far I'm willing to disagree with you to the point of violence, to the point of me imposing my views on you, to the point of me basically just discounting what it is that you have to say, or cast you as a pedophile, a groomer, or some other kind of thing, because I can't win an argument with you. So it's easier for me to typecast you into some type of villain instead of saying, you know what, I think he's a pretty upstanding dude, but we just happen to disagree on certain things and aspects and things like that. Doesn't mean that you're a terrible person. Doesn't mean that you're the Antichrist. Doesn't mean on any other given time. There's people that, man, if I go to a Panthers game and the Panthers score a touchdown, we all sitting there hugging and celebrating. I don't know if they are Trumper or not. Don't even give a damn, because we're all there supporting our team. But it doesn't mean that we come from all walks of life. The other thing that I'll say too, when it comes to Tim Scott, is that I get so tired though of people that feel like unless they're in the situation, they can't understand it. And the problem that I have with that is because the whole thing that we talked about on the show before about diversity, inclusion, and equality would solve a lot of those things, because when diversity is always about people coming from different parts of life, different aspects, different experiences and things like that being put together, and everybody being able to grow as a part of being around people that may have experiences that you never heard of, that may be foreign to you. But if you're willing to open up and at least listen, it may give you a little bit more insight. So everything that happens in the world that doesn't happen to you doesn't have any less credence behind it.
Right,
What y'all think about that?
exactly. It doesn't. If anything, it should make you. This is, I believe, this is whenever older generations than ours would say that is the part that makes you a better person. That is the part that causes you to grow. That is the part to where eventually when you start, because it causes you, if you take it in the right way, it causes you to value someone, number one, more and better outside of yourself. Okay,
Well, you have
it
to have a
causes,
certain sense of intellectual curiosity behind it too. There has to
right,
be a willingness to
and
one
it causes
people
you
believe that
to
there's no need to do that, and that's kind of where that gets cut off. Go ahead, Jermaine. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, everybody's not born with empathy.
Right.
And for a lot of times, what the big thing that we have to understand is that like when you talk about the Panthers game and we're cheering for our team and stuff, it's because we're cheering for a common goal and we're on the same position about that. What when I tell you that a lot of the indoctrination comes from the house, comes from parents and grandparents and stuff. A lot of times when it gets heated is because you're challenging. You just said my daddy was a liar. You said grandpa wasn't this.
right.
I know I had a guy I worked with, and his family grew up in South Carolina, dirt floors, right? And
Right.
so when he hears white privilege, he had no white privilege,
Mhm.
not any visible white privilege for him, right? Um, I mean, now on the same accord, there was somebody probably what he didn't realize there was a black family out there on dirt floors too, and they were getting crosses in the yard too. So
Right.
but from his perspective and stuff, he had to claw up. No one gave him anything, and so the idea of somebody getting an advantage because of their skin color is preposterous, and he'll argue to death about that.
Right.
Is he a bad guy? Nope. Is he coming from his point of view? Yep. Is he telling you that my grandfather didn't have shit and he was a white man and how fucking dare you tell me any different and stuff? And that's why he get heated about it. I understand all that. And a lot of times, especially when we get into arguments and public debates and stuff, it's more feeling the fact. And
Mhm.
a lot of these conversations make people feel certain ways. And especially for white America, because there's a lot of guilt in these families and stuff.
And that's the conviction I was talking about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guilt and stuff, and so when you start talking about stuff, and look, I'm the same way. When I'm wrong and I know I'm wrong, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to have a deep discussion about it. Right? Nobody wants to have the light put on into the shadows of the things that they don't want to talk about. And so that's why it gets heated. Again, now is any of it worth violence? I don't think so. But sometimes you got to show up with a folding chair.
But sometimes that barbaric nature takes over, and that's what I was alluding to when I was talking about the conviction. Some people, whenever they get so convicted, that's one of the first things they resort to is, listen, I told you I didn't want to hear about me being wrong. I told you I don't want to hear any of those things. And the first thing they want to do is strike out in violence in whatever kind of form it takes, whether it's by firearm, feet, hands, whatever, spitting on some whatever, because they don't want to accept. And don't tell me, my meemaw, my paw, the one that I know that I loved and grew up with and taught me, how to, grow up to be this man or woman that I'm trying to be. Don't tell me that they was this way, because they wasn't that way with me, or they weren't that way around me.
Right.
And or this.
Well,
Because
and that's the problem, that a lot of narratives are so die-cast that if you try to sprinkle a little sunshine on it, for some people, they'd rather go with what they know than to have to then have all those revelations built up. And it goes into another thing, CJ, that we were going to be talking about is that people's beliefs and convictions push them to try to make decisions for, in other people's lives, whether it's the LGBTQ community. I believe that Romans gave me a mandate to say that you people are an abomination and you shouldn't be here, and we're going to vilify you. We're going to shoot up gay nightclubs. We're going to ban drag shows and things like that because we do not believe. Not only should you not do this, we do not believe you have a right to exist. If you are in favor of abortions, well, we just simply think that our God has made it clear that you should not be able to do that because it is a life, even though scientifically speaking, life and being viable outside of the womb has never been established as point of conception, but further along into a pregnancy, where as soon as the egg is fertilized, it is not a baby. But people have grown up to believe that if I go and get pregnant, the day that I see that little mark on that pregnancy test, there is a baby inside of me. And that is simply scientifically not true. Why do I bring all that up? I'm glad you asked. Because we just crossed over the 1-year anniversary of the Dobbs decision that stripped away the protections of right to choose Roe versus Wade. And over that time, what the courts had argued was that it should not have ever been, even though all of them lied in their hearings, that it was settled precedent, not so settled. It got settled once they settled their asses in them black robes and them chairs. But it was supposed to be settled law. But then what they said is like they say for everything else, well, it's states' rights. It should have been a state decision. And here's the funny thing is, this is what I'd always said. Okay, if it is a states' rights issue, then it should be on 50 different ballots in 50 different states so that states can vote on it. But what happened in most states is the legislatures decided that they knew what was best for their constituents and would come up with the laws themselves and get governors to pass it and all this other kind of stuff. Well, Ohio sat there and said, well, we need a special election because there is Lori, I don't know if you sent that thing in here, but I'm going to get you. That's been bugging me for the last 20 minutes. It's like a gnat or something.
Oh, no. Mine died.
Okay. Well, his brother is in here. So tell him to go find his relative and do what they did.
Oh, no. I got the bug zapper.
Well, I got a bug zapper in here too, so I got something for his ass. We're gonna light him up real good. We're gonna take him out. But yes, Lori, your vote matters. Thank you. But so what happened was Ohio got together and said, well, we want to codify abortion into the Constitution, and that would bring a ballot measure up in November. And the Republicans sat there and was like, wait a minute. We're supposed to pass all of y'all's abortion policies in the legislature, not put it on the ballot, because they already knew that the overwhelming majority of people still support some type of abortion. Now, they tried to scare the hell out of people and say, well, they support abortion up until the time of birth and even after. And I'm sitting there going, now, unless you are a dumbass, if you are born, you can't be aborted. The whole
that kind of takes away the whole definition of abort.
Surely aborted and pulled out. If you have gone through the canals of the womb and into the world, you can no longer be aborted. That's just flat out murder. That is murder.
Yeah.
And there is no politician that has ever said that. What they've done is they muddied the waters. What they mean by that is there is a very, very, very minute, small percentage that a child may have to be aborted almost at the time of birth because of the harm that it could pose to the mother. It could kill them. And it's been determined that that mother could die if we do not terminate this pregnancy. But 99% of abortions do happen, as they did with Roe, before the 28th week, because after 28 weeks is really determined when a fetus can survive outside of the womb, or as we call it, the point of viability. Right. Before that, it wasn't considered abortion because the whole idea is that the baby could pass. The baby couldn't live outside the womb anyway. So anyway, the Dobbs decision basically said, well, we'll send it back to the states and let the states decide. Well, the last time I checked, the states were a bunch of people that they should put that on the ballot measure. They put school bonds on ballot measures. They put all kinds of things on ballot measures, but they didn't want to put abortion on there because they knew they would lose. And Ohio basically, to amend the Constitution, only required a majority vote, meaning 50+1. Well, what they decided to do was try to get real smart. First, they said, well, we don't want to do any more August elections because of low turnout and they get expensive and everything else. So we don't like August elections until we need them. And now we need them because we know what they're going to try to do in the fall. So instead of a simple 50+1, what we want to do is make it 60.
60.
We want 60%. And if that sounds familiar, look at the United States Senate, where most things require 60 vote thresholds, and it's 60% there too, because there's 100 senators, so 60 of them, 60%. But it takes a supermajority to pass most legislation, which is why things don't a lot of times get done, because more times than not, you don't have 60 Democrats or 60 Republicans or that kind of thing. Normally you got 50 something, and you may have a few that you can pull across party lines. And normally that's only when you want to name a damn post office. Let's be clear.
Right, exactly.
Or when you want to sit there and spend billions of dollars on the military budget. Then now everybody wants to blow shit up. And then you can get 60 votes on that. Hell, you can get damn near 90 votes on it. We want to blow something. But when it comes to abortion, they say, you know what? We don't want to put that on the ballot. And if we do, we want to make it a 60% threshold. So now any one county could basically tank any amendments, any votes in this stuff. And it wasn't just abortion, but that was the thing that was coming up. But they were also wanting to put on the ballot increasing the minimum wage. Oh God, we can't do that. Now we increase the minimum wage. It's going to make the cost of everything go up. Business owners aren't going to be able to hire people, and all that stuff. Armageddon is going to come and everything else. So we don't want them to be able to put that on the ballot and let the people decide, because they know that their viewpoints are not as popular as they try to make them seem to be. Jermaine, I know you want to get in on that. Go ahead.
Oh no, so much.
I know.
The abortion thing, you like you said, it goes back to states' rights. At least that's what they said, and then the states made sure that the voice of the people were not heard because they're representatives, and so they represent the people, so they know what the people want, and they say they go back and I talk to my constituents, and this is what they want, so I'm carrying out the will of the people. No need to involve them in this. That's why they hired me. I mean, really, that's basically what it is and stuff. And so, I mean, I will say this. So the turnout or the result of that election was that Ohio showed up in a mass amount and said, "Hey, stop playing with us."
Right, 57%.
Yep.
Voted for it. So, Lori, what do you think about that? Because it's almost being tone deaf, because most politicians know that they don't just come out and say certain things. They test it. They look at the polling. They look at the data. They look at all this information that tells them how they should feel and how they should think, which I think is actually very cowardly. I think I got him. I got your ass. I knew it. I got him. So they get very cowardly. So they'll look at polls, and polls a lot of times will tell them what to think. Well, the polls overwhelmingly tell people that most people support universal background checks. It tells them that they support women's right to choose and things like that. Yet they still go in front of the legislature and say that, like Jermaine said, well, I'm the representative, so I'm representing the people. But they're not representing the people. They're representing some kind of special interest or a radical part of their constituency that is religiously tied to things and want them to govern based on their religious views.
Well, that's a lot that you just packed in there, but it's all about power. It's just all about retaining power. It's just most of these gestures, and as some of them are radical and wild and crazy, are just a show for the pomp and circumstance. I'm just catering to a particular set audience or set voters. It's just a matter of just retaining power, because they know that because their opinions or what they're trying, what agenda they are trying to push and trying to push onto the people is for what they want to do. So they're not listening to the constituents that put them there, because again, they are just drunk with power and being able to retain that position, because I have achieved a certain level
Yeah.
in life, and that's what they want to sit there and to keep. So it doesn't really matter. Again, going back to, that is why you need to go out and vote.
It is.
And then you really need to make sure that you are working within your community, that you are voicing your opinions about how you feel you're represented, and not just putting a check mark back and forth, and just not pushing the agenda
Yeah.
that you want.
So CJ, you know, I think a lot of this is just comes down to accountability, where they feel like Lori said, empowered to be able to do these things because they don't really feel like there's going to be
frozen for a minute. There we go.
Yeah.
and then,
They're not challenged.
Yeah, and until the voters actually show them that there's
TJ Brian are frozen.
doing that, then there's going to be a problem.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. It's and the reason why they are that way, they feel empowered in a lot of, especially a lot of these smaller towns and stuff like that, is because they don't feel challenged.
Right.
In some of these states where heck, we can use our state.
Yeah.
Even though technically we are a red state, but because of our blue communities, they have to tread carefully because of the way that we vote, and they see that as well. And one of the things that I've learned since I've been in the presence of you guys, they project years and years down the road. They project young vote. They project educated vote versus uneducated. I mean, they really break it down. Like, they aren't just, I mean, these people are very, very meticulous in how they do things. And that's why it seems like on the Democrat side, it seems like they're always trying to run to catch up. And on the Republican side, they're like, okay, well, 10 years from now, we're going to have these voters. And so the power is in the vote, like how Lori said. And it's the people, it is the people. The people that actually have vote or don't vote. That's where the power really lies. And because of that, they put out two different kind of messages at the same time. This is one thing that I do notice about the Republicans. They put out a message of fear to keep their main base going. You know, come out because they've taken away something from you. And at the same time, there's a dual message. All voting don't really matter because, you know, there's electorals and stuff like that. And you really only want to vote every 4 years anyway. So I mean, even though we vote pretty much almost every year, just pay attention to the primary, because that's the only one. And you see that, and it discourages those people that are on the fence. And they try to make politics extremely boring. And I believe it's done on purpose, because I mean, I really was, like, me myself, my testimony to you guys, I was very disinterested in politics until I met you. And whenever I begin to see your perspective and how you guys begin to break down the importance of voting, because I mean, I would vote, I would see, and the reason why I can talk about it is because I was one of those 4-year voters, you know. And so, and then of course I met Kat and everything, and then she was like, "Baby, we can vote." And I'm like, "When? Since where? What? Who?" Like, you know. And so when I started to get myself educated.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm gonna use a word that DeSantis say. When I begin to wake up. I begin to wake up, and I mean, I suffer now from a lot of wokeism. I don't know if there's a cure for that.
No,
but
I stay woke.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
The Handmaid's Tale is a good way to go back to being unwoke, but I would.
You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is that, and this is what we need to keep pushing, because I see it now like so clear, like the dual messaging. You know, come out, and don't worry about it, guys. Y'all stay home, kick back, relax. We got this. Oh, this stuff is boring anyway. You know, your vote don't matter. And I'm just like, wow, how long they been doing this, bro? Since like forever.
Yeah.
Well, I think in principle, they're actually right. Your vote sometimes doesn't matter, and the real power isn't in voting; it's in the money. Because if you can't advertise, if you can't, say, well, they put this message out. Well, how do they get the message out? Because their sponsors gave them the money to put the message out, and they also they just didn't give them money. They gave them money and they gave them marching orders. So when we're talking about these unpopular ideals that are being supported and pushed forward by certain people and stuff and certain parties, that's where they come from. They come from those super PACs, those donors, those people that they need to be influential and stuff. Because if we're being honest and stuff, there's people who write reviews and there's people who read reviews. And what I mean by that is that you may have a product that doesn't do well for you and stuff, but you don't take the time out of your day to write a review about their product and what happened and stuff. But you'll read other people's reviews about it and stuff. And voting sort of is like that way too, where I have a problem with what's going on, but I don't do anything about it. Whereas there's a certain, and it's just been shown numerically and historically that we don't have to cater to Black people because you don't come out in enough numbers in these areas and stuff for me to cater. Your opinion doesn't matter because your vote doesn't matter. There's not enough of you voting. And so when we talk about your vote matters and stuff, it does only in conjunction with the greater community. If the community is voting and exposed, then yes, your vote matters. If they're not, it doesn't matter if you're in a red state, and it really doesn't. I mean, it's nice that you show up, but I mean, those votes don't matter in red states. Blue votes don't matter in red states. A lot of times.
Same thing as red voters in New York, because in New York City, let's say, because most of New York is red. But the whole concentration in New York City, when I lived in New York City, I was like, I'm still going to vote, but I already knew that it didn't really matter because
if I don't vote in Charlotte, it doesn't matter.
Right. Or Greensboro or Raleigh.
And it's and that's just, and I'm not trying to take away from, you getting out there and voting stuff. But it's hard to hold people accountable that don't feel that you have any power over them. You can't be accountable to people. Like somebody could randomly come up to me and ask for accountability when they're not a part of my life, right? Like, why would I give them that? And that's how politicians feel when you don't vote, when you don't give money, when you're not showing up to voice your opinion, when you're not being active and stuff, and you're just sitting back reading reviews. You don't count.
Yeah,
right.
But Jermaine, that's why I think it's so funny that you listen to any politician long enough, they will always say these three words, and they can never tell you what the hell it means. The American people. They'll always say, the American people feel like this, and the American people, and we got to look out for the American people.
It's like we said. I mean, so the reason again that they ignore you is because, like CJ pointed out, and we pointed out before, they do a deep dive into the numbers and stuff. And so when they say the American people, the numbers that were brought in front of me told me that this is what was important. This is what get me reelected. I can't vote on these things because the blowback might be enough to spark other people to be involved because these are some hot button issues and stuff. But overall, I feel safe voting on these things and promoting these things because the numbers, the American people, told me it was okay.
You know what, Jermaine? I got a visual as you was talking. It's almost like, you remember how like back in the day when I don't know if you guys were fans of a show called Family Feud. And every time the question was written, they would always say this one popular phrase, 100 people in the survey said this. And I'm like, and I will be trying to answer the I will be trying to give the top 10 answers of whatever the question is, and I'm like, do they ever consider like black folks have answers to these too, but it don't match what I'm looking at on the board, and they didn't ask me because I know if someone would have asked someone black that same question, my answer would have been number one.
And that's probably why when
it was only until Steve Harvey. It was only until Steve Harvey became the host. Then all of a sudden, Family Feud became interesting all over again because I'm like, oh, these are black answers, you know. So again, who are you asking these questions to?
Well, and so that's the thing too. When we talk about your vote matters, it's not just the act of you voting and stuff. When we talk about people being voting, it's about you being educated about the topics and stuff, and not just going off a script, right?
Yep.
You know, because we go now. Don't get me wrong. Like in Charlotte, the Black Political Caucus will be at every voting station, and they'll have a list of candidates, and they put it out before the vote stuff. You can go on the website, Facebook, and they'll have it out there about these are the candidates that we endorse. But why are you endorsing these candidates and stuff? And so it's not, you know, and so while they may want your vote, what I want is your heart and your activism and stuff, because you put your money where your mouth is. And if all you do is vote without being educated, you're just part of the churn too. And again, I understand how life works. I've got 2 teenage daughters. I've got one going to high school now. They're trying to be involved in sports and everything. I know, right? Sports and everything else. And so I understand how it is to be stressed then and stuff and say, hey, my weekend's my weekend. But showing up to a public library to hear about the changes that and there's so many things out there, and they publicize these meetings and stuff, and the voices aren't there. A lot of times when we go, well, why they allowed this corporation over here? Well, they had a meeting about it and nobody showed up, or not showed up. So you know, when I say voting, not just at the polls, but in those smaller forms, especially in your local community, you know, I got to do a better job. I think everybody needs to do a better job of being more involved and being more informed. Because with the information, because the other thing too is that when you're informed, you can teach other people.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And please start and just on what you were saying, Jermaine. I'm starting to be a little bit more aware too that it is a lot more to just your voting. It's showing up to those meetings, to those town meetings, to those oh gosh, it escapes me right now. But whenever our local council members
city council
come together, you know, I mean just to vote on, like what Brian was saying before, to vote on a traffic light, to vote on a whatever
referendums and bonds and all.
Because that's when those little sneaky laws begin to slide in, and you like, how did we lose it? Because it was introduced in one of those meetings where someone probably could have kicked back. You know, it was like, oh snap, okay, somebody's in the audience and they paying attention. So the more we start showing up to those meetings and things like that, you can actually start to, I believe. Yeah, you can start to at least make them aware, like, hey, look, we just not sleeping no more. We're actively involved, and we want to see something that represents us, something that's going to benefit us, as you know, as to whatever our concerns are as a community of people.
Absolutely. And Lori, I think the great philosopher SZA had a great point to what CJ just said. How can I snooze when I'm with you? Sometimes I get lost in the moment. You're just too important. Don't ever want to lose you. I can't snooze.
It is.
Okay, look, that was my best Ari Melba right there, Lori. I quoted a damn song on the cast. So Lori, hinted that section is over, and we are into what I don't like is. So Lori, since you brought it up, you go for it. What don't you like?
I don't like Dog and Pony Show. I would prefer, and you'll probably say that I am too too angry, but I just don't like the pop. I don't like the fakeness and pomp and circumstance. It's just stupid.
Mm.
I just need you. I just honestly, I just believe that we everyone doesn't have to agree or like one another or whatever, just for civility. And even if there's no civility, let's just be real. Let's just not be fake. I don't want to sit here and deal with fake and pomp and circumstances. I'm just not in it anymore. Stop it.
Sounds,
Just be real.
sounds like you have somebody that you kind of want to name right now, and we're all for it. Okay, maybe not. CJ, what don't you like?
What up, man? I got two of them. I'm kind of debating which one I want to say first, but okay. Well, this was due to a personal experience of mine, of course, because it's some things I don't like. The first one is these young bucks out here. And what I mean by these young bucks, I'm talking about these young black men. I should say boys, because in my world, you have to meet certain standards to be called a man. These young guys out here in 97-degree weather.
I hope you don't say what you'll say.
Dressed all in black, hoodie.
I knew it.
Toboggan.
I knew it.
I don't know which one I want to see more. Please forgive me, because I know I'm asking a whole lot. I don't know which one I would rather see. Do I would want to see you drooping your drawers past your butt? Or do I want to see that ignorant shit? Like, it blew my freaking mind. It did. It blew my. I'm like, I'm in a tinted car. I got my AC on, and I'm still like, man, my tent ain't doing no good today. And then here come these ignorant tail, and I'm like, why my kind, Jesus? Why my kind?
So do you have an issue when, again, from the New York perspective, because even Brian, when we lived up there, we'd sit there and be surprised when it'd be like 97 degrees and people got on Timbs.
That's what
Timberland boots.
Yeah,
along with the hoodie and the this.
about.
Like, why are you wearing? Because they weren't wearing sandals.
Well,
You don't have to wear sandals. I mean, but come on, Timberlands.
Well, I got a friend that is from Queens, and we went to a film premiere that we were doing in Atlanta, and it was in the month of August. And we go to the club after the film premiere, and he's got on his Prada outfit or whatever it was, and he has on his Timbs. And people instantly said, "Oh, you must be from New York."
It's a dead giveaway.
And let me tell you how serious he is about his Timbs. So we stopped for gas on the way down to Atlanta, and I noticed that he wasn't wearing his right shoe, his Tim. And I'm like, "What's going on? Why do you have your shoe off?" And he said, "B, can't put creases in the Timbs."
No.
I said, "Damn," because
you're not supposed to put any creases in your Timbs. You're not supposed to.
Okay. Anyway,
there's certain shoes you go out and you want to have a fresh pair of Timbs.
So anyway, guys, that's what I don't like. The other one is, and I know I hope I'm meaning to say this on the behalf of my brother Jermaine over here. I miss the days, and I do, and maybe it's the racist in me, where you can't hear about a crime or a situation and don't know if they were black or white anymore.
Uh-oh. I think sometimes if it comes out of Florida, I think we know.
Say what?
If it comes out of Florida, I think we know. They just be so outrageous, you kind of point at them.
Okay, because I'll give you a small example about what I meant. Like, there were certain crimes that what people would commit, you would know automatically if they were black or white. like a stolen car, versus like a meth charge or something like that, huh?
Or mass murder.
Yeah, or a mass
like
murder.
a shooting in a movie theater or
a kidnapping of a child.
So, one, you're right. That is incredibly racist. But incredibly, and not positive for us, because most of the crimes have been attributed to us. It doesn't work out for us. That stereotype does not work out for us.
No, it don't.
But I would kind of push back, because I think for the ones that maybe like we're talking about, mass shooters and stuff like that, I think we are still 95% right about those things.
Yeah, definitely. But that fight that happened at Popeye's Chicken, that fight that happened outside Popeye's Chicken.
Oh yeah, that was straight us, bro.
Yeah, I think we still can.
Straight us.
I think we still
Jermaine,
can.
what do you not like?
I don't like people that let their dogs kiss them in the mouth.
Oh Jesus, no, God. Yeah. I'm with you on that one, for real.
But even more importantly than that one, what I don't like is animals. It's animals and stuff. I was actually thinking what I really didn't like was, I don't like it when people bring their pets into the stores, especially restaurants and stuff.
Thank you.
Just because you think your animal is clean and stuff, I don't want them in there. And that service animals is not part of this conversation.
No.
Correct.
I'm gonna kick back on that one. I just experienced it literally 3 days ago. Service dog, Great Dane, in the lobby, continental breakfast. The dog's head is literally hanging over the.
Well, I would push back and say that wasn't a real service dog. There are a lot of people that go out and buy. I'm serious. Yeah. Because a real professionally trained service dog would never.
Exactly.
And that's how you know. A lot of people like to call any animal a service animal. There are certain animals that are emotional support animals, and people have crossed that line and tried to call them that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Jermaine. But no, I'm gonna close it out. Can I close it? Oh, you done? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, and I don't like when people walk barefoot in public places.
Oh yeah, that's nasty.
I have a thing against feet personally, and so
yeah,
I don't. I'm not a feet dude. Like, I do a lot of shit. I'm not with the shits with your feet. Keep those away. And so anytime, like I brought up earlier, when people hang their feet out the windows and stuff, it's just all feet stuff. It's all feet stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like anything to do with
anything feet. We got you.
I don't like it.
I want to set this disclaimer that these views are just express consent of the actual contributor. Here at Empower TV Network, we definitely support Janet Jackson's toes at all times.
Not even Janet.
Call me Janet. Call me Janet.
Not about your feet.
I get so lonely. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna close it up. You know what I don't like, y'all?
Well,
I just turned 49 August the 4th. Oh, and wow. even before turning 49, these little young bucks, these little young assholes, and I'm gonna call them that because they keep referring to me as a damn OG. I don't like that.
Okay.
I am not OG.
Okay, you said what? You call yourself what?
They'd be like, "What's up, OG?" I was at the gas station the other day, and dude was wanting me to give him some money. He said, "Hey, OG, you got a couple dollars to donate?" And I said, "Shit, not now, because you done called me an OG. Figure it out, asshole." He called me an OG.
Hey, it's a sign. Look, it's a sign of respect.
Man,
I got these.
I can say that's either OG or
I know it is.
OG or
I get that too.
It's all a badge of honor.
How about sir? How about sir? How about Mister? I'm okay with that.
How old is your oldest child?
28.
Oh yeah, you OG.
Oh yeah, you OG.
Yeah,
you OG.
So y'all gonna back this bull crap? That's what we're doing.
I don't care if you don't. You said you don't like it. I'm just telling you again. Through my prism.
We just let you know what it is.
So look, I'm sorry that we had some technical difficulties here on Head to Head. I don't know what in the world happened.
let you know what it is, man.
That was an example.
Damn, Unc.
I ain't say
Why you gotta do me like that, huh?
Just for that, I'm gonna get you an Uncle T-shirt and an OG T-shirt. Just for that.
And
Man,
that dog,
that shit, bro.
and
Embrace
that
that
dog
shit.
out on the front stoop looking for a hey. So if y'all see somebody with a 3-legged dog walking in Concord, now you know why. On that note, let me thank my co-hosts. I'm gonna call them that. I don't know if they'll be back next week, y'all. We gotta go back through these contracts about me being Unc and OG. But let's say thank you to Lori Parker. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Mr. T and TBS CJ Jones, host of Elephants Exposed, currently on YouTube, and of course the one, the only, the franchise, and also the big of Jermaine Parker Realty for all your real estate needs in the state of North Carolina, specializing in the Charlotte market. Please send a message to Jermaine Parker Realty at JermaineParkerRealtyLLC.com. How about that?
Nice.
And with that, thank you for joining us for another week. We'll be back next week. Also join us for Head to Head Sports on Wednesdays, both shows at 7 p.m. live streaming on Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Man, this a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it.
Man, this a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a